Okay, everyone, good morning. Thank you for joining this seminar, Top IT Tips Working from Home. My name is James Balderstone. I hope everybody is keeping well and staying sane in the current crisis. We're ready to make a start. So, a little bit about my company, Lucid Networks. We are an IT consultancy specialising in designing and supporting and delivering and managing IT across numerous sectors. We were founded in 2011 and we've got two offices, one in Manchester and one in Edinburgh. Our senior team has over 20 years IT experience in technical and in IT leadership roles. And we primarily help businesses who rely on IT to manage and support their critical IT systems. And that could be in the data center for larger businesses, on-premise at offices, and in the cloud as well. And what we try and do is we try to offer IT consultancy and support that starts in the boardroom with the directors and delivers all the way down through to the desktop user. Very briefly about me, I'm the principal consultant, managing director. I've got 20 plus years experience of delivering and managing IT and dealing with projects in businesses with probably up to about 1,000 IT users. I help professional services businesses primarily to manage their IT systems with a focus on security. I'm a Cyber Essentials Assessor as well, which is a government IT security standard that's been around for 3 or 4 years now. And I also have technical skills surrounding Microsoft infrastructure servers, Office 365, but also business analysis as well. So what we try and do at Lucid is we try and talk to the business and to the technical people as well and bridge that gap. And what my work does is it gives me a unique insight into businesses ranging from a handful of users right up to thousands of IT users across different geographies. And I get to see how they're using IT. And in many cases, I and my team directly help them use and manage IT better, quicker, and more securely. Now, just a word about the seminar. As a team at Lucid Networks, we work remotely as a matter of routine. So we have members of staff who are based primarily from home, and many of our colleagues work from customer sites or work from home just as part of their day-to-day work. So it's a key part of our business, and it's a key part of our business continuity plans, which when this crisis happened, was very, very easy for us to put into place. And hopefully I can give you some of my insights from that today. So why are we here today? Well, in the current crisis, we've got depleted workforces. We've got people working from home, with some people unable to work at full capacity or indeed at all. And as businesses, we want to be more productive, and we want to do that with less resource, less people, less money, less access to IT. The thing is that we need to make sure that we remain secure while we do it. The crisis is a golden opportunity for criminals to exploit weaknesses in IT and weaknesses in the way that people communicate when they're working in a distributed fashion. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later. Most companies want peace of mind that IT is going to work for them through the current crisis. And almost as importantly, it's still going to be there for you when the crisis is over and everybody needs to get back to business as usual. So, and finally, when the crisis does end, the world's going to be a very different place. And I predict that businesses are going to be thinking very differently about their readiness to withstand new types of crisis and business interruption. Things that would have been unthinkable only a few years ago. And businesses are going to want to be more resilient and to maintain probably higher margins than they might have done so historically. So today I'm hoping to show you how to leverage modern tools to make you more productive, both now and in the future. Give you some ideas which will allow you to work from anywhere securely, or for those in larger organizations, perhaps these can be fed back to your IT teams or your IT leaders. And there's also a piece there about having the right equipment that's flexible and adaptable to those needs. And finally, staying safe online while we do all of this. So first thing I'd like to talk about is cloud collaboration tools. There's a number of these tools on the market, things like Zoom and WebEx and Life-Size Cloud and Slack as well. Now, pretty much the top two of these tools at the moment are Microsoft Teams and Slack. And a couple of months ago, before the crisis happened, Teams adoption globally overtook Slack adoption for the first time and is now really pulling away. So before we go on about this, it's worth talking about what we mean when we say collaboration tools. While some of the tools that I've just mentioned, like Zoom and WebEx and Life-Size, they offer video and voice conferencing and also things like presentation and file sharing type services. For me, they're not really true collaboration tools. Let me explain this. A true collaboration tool is so much more than just chat and video. It has a rich ecosystem of plugins and connectors that allow you to truly integrate it with the way you work. So we've been using Teams for over a year, and it's revolutionized the way that we work as an organization. And that's already in the context of a team who is accustomed to working across two sites, who is accustomed to working remotely. With Teams, we use chat every day. It's basic, and we do that in groups and individually. We also do screen shares very regularly, which I'll demo to you a little later, or show you some slides about. And we use that to solve complex problems. So as a technical team, it can sometimes be difficult to talk about a complex issue over the phone. So if you do a screen share, you get eyes on the problem straight away, and that's hugely valuable. We also use it to work together to author and edit complex documents. So we might be writing proposals, tenders, quotes, that kind of thing, presentations like this, in fact, which has all been written and authored by a team that hasn't actually met since we had the idea for it. You can access documents directly from within Teams. And one of the really cool features for us is that you can automate entire workflows. So you can do things like customers submitting applications or orders, or signing contracts, and you can also invite suppliers and customers securely into that workspace to collaborate with you securely in new ways. There are also, for technical businesses like us, some really cool features of Teams, which is that we can have our automated systems communicating directly with us in Teams about things that are going on in our customers' IT infrastructure. So we talked a little bit about document collaboration, and I'd like to use this as the first of a couple of features that I'd like to focus on, which I think are probably the best features of Teams and the most useful for people in our current situation. So if we want to work on a file within Teams, we can just click on the dots next to a person's name, and this little menu pops up, and we can edit the file right here in Teams, and it pops up there, and it runs a version of PowerPoint here, so that these people are working on this report, and we can see there in the top right hand corner it's also showing us who's editing the file. So you can see that your colleagues here and what the edits are that they're making right there as they make them. Now, what you can also do is, if you want to ask a question about this document or have a little chat with your colleagues, you can open a chat right here in the document. And when you've done all of that and authored the document, all of your comments stay right there in that thread of conversation in Teams, so you can always refer back to them. When you've written your document, you can then present that in a meeting. You can present it to your colleagues. And that's all accessed from the same window that you would use day to day. So it really becomes that hub for teamwork inside Office 365. For internal collaboration with colleagues, you can set up multi-way audio and video meetings. So you can see here that we've got somebody with a large screen in their office with up to 4 people there being able to be seen on screen. You can also do screen shares, and you can collaborate on documents from within those meetings as well. And we found this really useful when we've been on the current lockdown situation, where so every day we have a team meeting. where we'll have a quick conference about the issues of the day, and we might do a screen share or share a document, and work out what our priorities are for that day. And that process goes incredibly smoothly when we're doing that with teams. Even better, when you're in this conference, what you can then do is you can pick up your mobile and you can transfer the whole thing to your phone in one click. So you can, there's a little demo going on here that you can add this device. So you can now step away from your desk or walk out of the office. You can even see the individuals that are in the conference, and also on your mobile device, you can get to see the screen that's being shared as well. So it's really seamless, that ability to switch between devices at will. If you decide that you want to walk away and use your favorite headset, you can just switch to your mobile or to your iPad. So moving on from Teams, our next collaboration tool that we find absolutely critical in our business is a voice over IP phone system, or VoIP as we call it. Quite a lot of companies will be familiar with voice over IP because it's historically been sold as a way to lower call costs, and often it is. But what many firms tend to miss about VoIP is the flexibility and the advanced features that it gives. And actually, we've implemented VoIP probably, very, very soon after our company started. And we weren't looking at the cost implications. We were looking at these advanced features. So, for example, we have different phone numbers for support, sales, accounts, and some staff have direct dial numbers as well. And all of these can be answered by the right person. And critically, they can do that at any location. So in our office, we have a phone handset on the desk that looks like any other office phone. But you can see here on the left, this is a screenshot of a mobile app called Bria, which allows us to answer those calls on our mobiles over Wi-Fi at home, even when we're out of the office sitting in the car. So this allows us to be really, really flexible about how we answer calls. We can respond during normal times when there's perhaps a fire drill at one of our offices. People at the other office can answer our calls. And in situations like the current crisis, we had to make no changes whatsoever to our workflow. We just took a telephone handset at home, and staff who didn't have the app yet just installed it. Now, we use a system from Gradwell Communications, which we've used for a number of years, but there are a number of other systems available from a range of providers, including Gamma, BT, Virgin, and a relatively new feature that ties this into what we've been talking about already is that you can now actually deliver your phone calls into Teams. So that's something that we're going to be looking at in the coming weeks and months. So just to talk about connecting securely, when you're working from home, you're going to be accessing business critical data. And that might be in the form of email, or it might be in the form of some applications that you have to access, perhaps CRM, or maybe a line of business application like accounting or something within your organization. And for many of our businesses, one of the first things that we advise our customers to do is simplify their IT infrastructure. And one of the ways that you simplify your IT infrastructure is to move commodity services and indeed critical applications to the cloud. So cloud systems include things like Office 365, Xero, QuickBooks, SAP, Salesforce, these kind of applications that are used in businesses of all sizes. And if you're using these tools, then you'll already be connecting securely because they use secure HTTP or SSL as we refer to it. And SSL is what gives you that green tick or the padlock in your browser at the top left-hand corner when you visit a website. And what that does is it tells you that the traffic between your computer and the application or system that you're accessing is encrypted and that it's secure. And all you need for that is a modern web browser, so Google Chrome, Microsoft Edge or Safari or Firefox or one of those kinds of browsers, and modern desktop. So I'll talk in a minute about modern desktop, but broadly what we mean about that is a modern operating system and modern applications. So things like Outlook or SharePoint or Dropbox or these kinds of things. And when you do this, you can access these things from anywhere without any additional steps. So we talked about modern desktop, and it's worth even yet probably saying something about this. Back in January, Windows 7 was declared end of support by Microsoft. Now, what end of support actually means is that Microsoft are no longer producing security updates for Windows 7. Now, for anyone that's also running Office 2010, so Outlook, PowerPoint, Word, Excel, those applications of the 2010 version, that same thing is going to happen in October. And when that happens, cyber criminals will continue to reverse engineer those products and work out what the security holes in it are, and then try to craft malicious email campaigns or new malicious software to exploit those issues. Those pieces of software will no longer get those problems fixed by the manufacturer. So if you're running Windows 7 or if you're running Office 2010, in the case of Windows 7, it's already becoming a progressively bigger liability for you. And you'll probably also be seeing performance issues as well. So now is the time to get modern and upgrade to a modern operating system, which in the Microsoft world is Windows 10. And that's all still possible during the crisis. That could largely be done remotely. So if you're not accessing cloud applications, then the main way to connect securely would be to use a VPN connection. So a VPN stands for a virtual private network. And this little diagram here on the right hopefully shows that what that does is it establishes a secure connection from your computer to another place on the internet. And that would normally be your company's office or your company's data center. And you'd use this system if you were going to access files or folders or possibly applications which are only hosted at your office. So maybe you've got some on-premise server infrastructure at your organization. Maybe in a larger organization, you have a data center that hosts a lot of systems and applications for you. And you would usually access that by some kind of VPN. Now, VPNs are a good option because they're supported on Windows, Mac, and mobile. There are a number of different standards, but one way or another, you will get some support there. And VPNs can often be set up without a site visit. So for any IT support people or organizations that have remote access, it can all be set up remotely. The other thing that you can use, which you may well use in conjunction with a VPN, is something called Remote Desktop. Now, Remote Desktop is a Microsoft technology which allows you to access your work desktop from any other computer. And we've got a screenshot here of someone who's actually working on an Apple Mac, and on their Apple Mac, they've got a window there that's showing them their Windows desktop from their work PC or a server in their data center or at their office. Now, Remote Desktop can be much safer if your only option is working from home computers, because from a data privacy point of view, your home PC may not have the security tools or settings that your organization might want to keep personal data private. If you use Remote Desktop, then you never actually transfer any data to your home PC or your home computer. It all stays in your office inside the perimeter of their network. And again, there are apps for Windows, Mac, and mobile, and it keeps that data confidential for you. So together with all of this, we've talked about some potential issues surrounding things like using home PCs. And I know that our support team have spent a lot of time with customers who didn't have the correct strategy in place for home working to include the right kit, where we've been forced, or the customer has been forced, to have their people access business critical data from personal laptops, personal devices, home computers. Now, the challenge at the moment is that ever since the COVID crisis began, stock of laptops, especially in the UK, but also desktop PCs, is extremely limited, and it's been dwindling. And as that's happened, naturally the price has escalated. So to put a number on that, the laptops that were selling for £400 or £500 prior to the crisis are now going for well over £1,000, and that's if you can even buy them anymore. What you can do is that you can look at reconditioned hardware, and we've had some success with providing reconditioned hardware very rapidly. And as long as that's given the right treatment by your IT organization or your IT support people before that happens, then it's a really good, low-cost, rapid alternative to being able to work from home if you don't already have something in place. For customers that have Office 365, we can also do some really interesting stuff with rapid deployment. So we can ship a laptop to you that's still in the sealed box from the manufacturer, and you can start that up and have it deploy all your applications for you without it having to be touched by an IT support person. If you can't get a laptop, then there are some interesting alternatives, and I use this method of access quite regularly, to the point where I'm actually trying to do away with my laptop entirely. So I have an iPad, which I have a keyboard for, very much like the one that's in this picture, and I use a combination of remote desktop and some other apps that are installed on my iPad to access all of the systems that we use in our business. For most people, especially in non-technical businesses, that gives you easy access to everything that you need in the office on devices where availability isn't at a premium, and they're convenient to carry around as well. So we talked a little bit about staying safe online. It's worth talking a little bit about the threat landscape. So over half, probably about 53% of all email, and there's something like 270 billion emails sent and received worldwide every day. 53% of that is spam or a virus or some other kind of malware, which is a pretty terrifying figure. One in, oh, sorry, I've gone a slide too quick there. 1 in 2,500 emails is some kind of spearfishing attack. So spearfishing is where you're targeted in some way for some kind of malicious activity. So perhaps you might be targeted as someone in the accounts department. You might be sent an email that looks like it contains an invoice as a PDF, and in fact that has some kind of malware embedded within it. 1 in 130 is just some other kind of malware, which is probably like a keylogger that's looking to steal internet banking details, or exfiltrate data like financial data or personal information or something of that nature. We've also then got malicious websites and ransomware, and these things will often be delivered using email. So you will get an email that has a link in it, which will send you to a malicious website, to somewhere that might download some ransomware to your computer. So ransomware is software which locks your files using clever encryption, and then demands a ransom before you pay that back. That business is, if it can be called a business, is extremely interesting from an IT point of view, because it does actually operate like a legitimate business. Market forces are at play, and the ransom is coming down. So you commonly, average ransoms are somewhere between 500 and 2,500 UK pounds. They're aimed to be affordable but eye-watering, and you know, the scammers in the ransomware business are almost competing for your business to get you to pay them money. So it's quite interesting to watch how that industry, as it were, is developing. And then what's left after that is what we call physical access issues, which are very, very small. However, what's growing in the current crisis is social engineering. And social engineering is this idea that someone may call you or send you an email purporting to be somebody that you trust in order to try and get you to do something. So what you'll see is various things in this chart deployed together. So to give you an example that probably everyone is familiar with, you might receive an email which is crafted to look like it's come from a senior member of staff in your organization, instructing you to send a large payment to somewhere, and applying pressure to you to do that very, very quickly. There's a combination there of spear phishing and social engineering going on. And the way that attackers are exploiting the current crisis is they're exploiting the fact that you're no longer in the same office as those people. So we had a customer who was a medium-sized business who came to us, and they'd actually just escaped an issue like this, because the person who was supposed to be requesting the payment happened to walk past the individual in the office who was being asked to make the payment, and they spoke and realized that it was actually a scam. When we're working in a distributed fashion, in high pressure, with people out of the business as well, it becomes much easier for the cyber criminals to exploit that situation to get what they want, which at the end of the day is money and data. So to stay safe online, keep updating all your software within 14 days. Definitely web browsers, so Chrome, Safari, Firefox, etc. Email software like Outlook, also Java or Adobe applications. All of these kind of things are on a very high risk list of applications, which is published by the National Cybersecurity Centre, because these applications are the front line that protect you against things that are sent to you electronically. So your browser is how you communicate with websites, including malicious ones. Your email software is the first thing that sees a malicious email when you receive it. Adobe Acrobat Reader is probably the first thing that sees that PDF that's got some malware infected within it. So it's absolutely critical that you keep this software up to date. If possible, try not to use home computers for work. They might not have the appropriate security tools on them or settings. And in larger organizations, the management just simply can't trust the home PCs of a large workforce because they're not managed by the organization. So the larger your organization, the more of a security risk that becomes. We'd advise using VPN, remote desktop, or Citrix, which is a similar technology, or some other kind of remote access where possible, because that keeps that data within the perimeter of your company's network. Stay vigilant for phishing and other malicious emails. So we would normally advise in normal times that if you receive any high pressure emails asking for payments or asking for anything that seems out of the ordinary, make some independent checks on the sender. So for example, don't ring them on the number that's in the email that they've sent you. Pick up the phone and use the number that you have independently for them and ask them if they've sent that email. What you can also do in most email software is if you hover your mouse over the name of the sender, it will tell you the actual email address that that's come from. And those are two very, very simple ways that anybody in the organization, irrespective of their level of IT skill, can stop the vast majority of email-borne malware and phishing attacks. Also, keep up subscriptions for antivirus and security software. This is probably more relevant to smaller businesses, but we've had a number of customers who have come to us and asked whether they can save money by terminating subscriptions. And right now, these subscriptions are the thing that's protecting you and your business. And if you terminate those subscriptions, you're going to become more and more at risk as time goes by. And we talked earlier about your IT infrastructure being available for you when you come back. It needs to be there when you come back, and keeping these subscriptions up is the way that that's going to happen. Likewise, ensure that adequate IT support resources are available for you, making sure that you keep up with subscriptions, or you keep enough resource in your IT team to make sure that when people have problems when they're working at home, that those problems can get fixed really quickly. If someone has an issue while they're working at home, it's something that wouldn't be a showstopper for them in the office is very often a showstopper when they're working remotely. So small issues get big and get business impacting much more quickly in a crisis. So I'd just like to finish off with a couple of case studies for organizations that we've helped recently. So one of our customers is a 50-person recruitment company, and they had a good remote working process in place already. And we'd already moved them to the cloud for key applications. So they have an application that manages their candidates and their CVs and things like that. And that had already moved to the cloud. So it was very, very easy for them to send people to work from home extremely quickly. And for them, that was a decision that was made within a 48-hour period. They already had a VoIP phone system as well. So they've been able to, very much in the same way that my company has, they've sent their people to work from home with a mobile app. What they didn't have is they they didn't have easy access to their files, so they were in a position where they were relying on using the VPN, and that caused various pieces of friction for them. So we're moving them to SharePoint very, very rapidly, which is an Office 365 service, which keeps all of your files online and removes the need for a VPN entirely. It becomes something that you access in your browser with modern applications with no need for a VPN. And we also did some rapid deployment of laptops for them for people that didn't have them at home. And that process is ongoing. So within a week of them making that decision that they wanted to make everyone work from home, 100% of their staff are now working from home and are doing so productively. We've also got a 25-ish person accountancy practice. Now, they're slightly different in that they're tied to on-site systems because they have a number of industry applications which just aren't cloud-based yet. The vendors don't offer a cloud alternative. So for this company, who is a relatively new client for us, we rapidly set up a secure VPN and remote desktop. We've deployed Microsoft Teams across the business for both these companies, actually. We've upgraded this organization to Windows 10 and the modern Office applications. And the majority of their staff, perhaps 2 or 3, are working in the office. The majority of them are now working from home and doing so productively. So this work can be done remotely, it can be done easily, and it can be done in the current crisis. So, brief summary, I hope what I've managed to show you is that you can be more productive with tools like Teams and voice over IP. That you can use tools like VPN and remote desktop to stay secure and reduce your risk of a cyber attack. I hope I've demonstrated that keeping up your subscriptions for security and ensuring that adequate IT support is available will give you that peace of mind that your systems are going to continue to be there through the crisis and will still be there when you come back. And hopefully, as businesses take this forward, it will make businesses more resilient and profitable in the future, because people will remember this crisis and it will be fresh in their mind, and they will remember the teamwork that went on, and the systems that have been put in place to support this will give us a foundation for automating more processes, doing more with less, and also hopefully to make people's lives a bit better by giving them flexible working. Those jobs that everybody thought couldn't be done from home actually can be done from home. And hopefully that's something that I hope will get carried forward. So thank you for listening. We've got some time to take some questions. Anybody would like to send some? So you can, if you go to the questions tab on the left-hand side, you can type questions in there, and I will answer those for you, or do my best to. Okay, so we've got one question here. So, so how easy is it to set up Microsoft Teams, and what would I need to do it? So this answers in 2 parts. Teams is really easy to set up. If you're working in a larger organization where you have an IT team who controls and manages your desktop PCs and laptops, then the best thing to do is to engage with them, because they will have tools that will allow them to push Teams out to your desktop or to your laptop. And that should be doable remotely in most well-run organizations that have an IT team. For smaller organizations, it's also very easy, just in a different way. It depends upon which Office 365 subscription you have. So if you have Office 365 Business Premium or above, then Teams is included as standard. And you can simply download the Teams application. When we send out a copy of the presentation afterwards, we will also send out a link where you can download the Teams app, and you can do that on mobile, laptop, or PC or Mac. So we've got someone asking here, can you set up a VPN cross-platform? So a remote Mac connecting to an Office-based PC and also another Office-based Mac. So yes, partly. So So in my presentation earlier on, there is a slide where we've got a screenshot of someone using a Mac remotely and connecting to their PC in the office using remote desktop. So that's really easy. It's slightly more difficult to get remote access to a Mac because you have to use slightly different tools, but it is possible. So the answer there is broadly yes. And yes, you can set up a VPN cross-platform. So the VPN technology that we deploy works out of the box on Windows 10, on Mac OS, on iPhone and on Android and iPad as well. Okay, so we've got someone else asking, so what would be the best way to send sensible documents around the world to clients and investors? So the way we would do that is we would use Office 365 for that. So what you can do in Office 365 is, especially if the document is sensitive, then you can just send the person a link to it, and that's a secure link to that document which they can click on. And you can set really granular permissions on that. So you could, for example, send that document to 10 people, and you might want 5 of them to be able to edit it and 5 of them only to be able to read that and to not change it. So if you send them the link, you can then set up those permissions, and you can have those people collaborate on it, or just read it, or just download it. And in some of the higher subscriptions in Office 365, they have features called data loss prevention, which allow you to audit who's accessed that data and what they've done, and you can stop them from taking that data away from your organization as well. Okay, so sorry, one other question here. Can several people make changes to a document at the same time, and are old copies of files saved as standard? So yes, one of the things that we use very regularly is we all collaborate on a document at the same time. And what this isn't just in Teams. So if you have Office 365, if you're editing a spreadsheet in Excel, or a document in Word, or a presentation in PowerPoint, you can see that your colleagues are there editing that as well, and it highlights the cursor where they are, so that you can see them typing as they're typing in the document. So we use that all the time, and it's a hugely valuable tool, and allows us to turn out documents extremely quickly. The second part of that question is about old copies of files. Yes, and again, one of the features that we use very regularly is you can look at the version history of a file in Office 365 and say, I want to go back to the file the way it was on Friday afternoon last week, and you can flip between those versions extremely easily, and that's all done in a self-serve way for the users. So you can almost use that as a backup facility as well, where you don't have to contact your IT department to restore that file from backup because someone's made a change to it that you want to roll back in some way. Okay, so another question coming in. What VoIP provider would you recommend for a small business? I can make an introduction for you. We use Gradwell. There are a number of people on the market though, and it may well be worth just having a conversation about your requirements on that, just to make sure that we can match you to the right people. Okay, so someone else is asking, how easy is it to use PCs and Macs on the same VPN network? Extremely easy. Could you perhaps just clarify there whether you're, so are you saying PCs and Macs perhaps on your home network and trying to access things at the office, or are you saying PCs and Macs on the same office network? Both. Okay, so yes, PCs and Macs are easy enough to set up. If you're using tools like Office 365, then PCs and Macs don't need to talk to each other on the same network at all. we've also done numerous projects where customers have, usually the marketing team or the design team using Macs and the commercial team using Windows PCs or laptops. So that's extremely easy and something that we've got a lot of experience with. Okay, so someone else asking here, how do you set up a remote desktop connection? So yes, it can be done without a site visit. It's extremely easy to set up that remote desktop connection on your computer. What you also need at the remote end is you need someone to have set the remote desktop server up to allow you to connect. And again, that can all be done remotely, either by an IT support company like us or by your IT team in a larger business. Great. Okay. Thank you. If there are no other questions, my contact details are on this slide. If you would like to carry on the conversation, please contact me at LinkedIn. All the things that we've discussed today are things that Lucid Networks can help with. We've got experience with, and the things that we've been doing during the crisis as well. So if you feel that your business does need help in any of these areas, please give me a call or connect with me on LinkedIn or drop me an email. Also, if you'd like to follow our blog, we have a blog on our website which covers some of these issues. We also have our COVID-19 page, which we're updating regularly. Follow us on Facebook or LinkedIn, like our page on LinkedIn, and you'll get our updates as well. So thank you all for attending. I know you're all very busy. Hopefully we might carry on the conversation with some of you afterwards.